basically 2023, and there are some trends that are as a context to RevOps. First, companies can no longer operate with siloed teams. And Romeo, I think I will just go through all of these trends, and I would love you to comment on the ones you feel are most critical for 2023. So one of these is that
Sure.
companies now can no longer operate with siloed teams. And it's not just about marketing that needs to bring leads. It's much more than that. Then the entire customer life cycles is just disrupted because we have disconnected teams. They have contradictory goals, and the data is ununified. So they basically track different things, and they think that critical metrics are just different for each of the teams. And then also there is an emerging need to support multiple go-to-market motions and plans. What we mean by this is the go-to-market strategies. So you might do outbound, inbound, or you might also do account-based marketing at the same time. But you can also have different audiences, enterprise or small, medium businesses, and it all requires a different approach and different processes. And then as well, you have a redundant, unadopted tech stack that creates basically friction for your teams, not helping them to be more efficient or bring more value. So, Romeo, from your perspective, which of these is most critical? Or maybe you don't see the one here that you feel is the most critical for 2023?
I think, especially because of the recession, let's say, having a multiple go-to-market plans, it's critical, right? These days, but focusing on one that really works well is also very important, to making sure that the cost are efficiently utilized. So what we see many times is that companies used to do one GTM really well, for example, inbound. And this is a trend that happens even today, that they were actually capturing demand, right? So you were focusing on your SEO and on your PPC strategies without looking at the whole customer journey of your clients, and all you did is actually capture demand. And a simple example is the service businesses, right? So for example, the IT sector, where in like 2 years back there was a El Dorado of in the market, where companies was just waiting and getting requests on these professionals, and there was a very transactional type of sales, right? Now these things change, right? So you need to go to market and to actually be active in the sales, which means that the inbound, you cannot rely only on that inbound GTM, right? Like where you're just creating and trying to capture the demand. Now you need to actually make that demand and create the demand in the market, which is a totally different story because it's a different GTM. So I think it's very important to know how to actually support that multiple go to market, and everything is connected, right? Because you cannot support multiple GTMs if your tech stack is not it's creating friction and is not adaptable, if you are still working in a siloed teams, when you are waiting for marketing to create MQLs, which, let's be honest, nobody wants MQLs, everybody wants opportunities, right? But we were in that mindset of inbound, that what HubSpot sold us back in 2011, that make a lot of blog posts, make a lot of lead gen and white papers, and then create MQLs, send them to sales, and they will qualify it. So that was a siloed way of doing it. So I think this is very connected, everything, at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah, that's really nice, and I think I can conclude it with that. At the end, it also comes to this connected customer experience, right? That from the moment of actually marketing to the customer success, it all has to be connected and relevant, and across different go-to-market motions, across different also like placements where you actually interact with those customers. And in the past it was completely disjoint, and yeah, now it has to really provide one great and relevant customer experience across the full funnel. And this is actually why we talk about RevOps, because we will just jump into actually a theory what RevOps is and the definition. And one of these for sure will be about the entire customer journey process. So let's get into this. So one of the definitions, right? There will be multiple. So we uncover actually what RevOps is. So RevOps aims to build and optimize the entire revenue process from demand generation to customer retention. And basically, the outcome we look for is to maximize revenue and profitability for the company. So in other words, you may also say do more with less. HubSpot simplifies it also to say that you have to RevOps increases the force, so accelerates the growth and reduce frictions, so makes it more efficient and both for customers and also for the teams. So this is the simplified version of HubSpot definition as well. Um, and to be more practical, what do we mean by the entire customer journey or life cycle process? So we mean to actually support from the awareness stage to recurring impact, and there is those two sides of the bow tie of the funnel, which is in simple words, new business and existing business, where we mean upsell, cross-sell, renewal. And at the end, of course, what's the holy grail of usually SaaS businesses are the referrals that reinforces the whole funnel and creates new business as well when you have satisfied customers. And what we can add on top of that, usually you track it by lifecycle stages. And here where we mention the lead, MQL, SQL, opportunity, customer. But from the RevOps perspective, it's all about revenue. Let's go next. How also it's defined. RevOps operates across sales, marketing, and customer success. So it's entire funnel. And what we also understand by these are those are the teams that operates across this entire funnel. Once again, to be practical, this is how it looks like, right? You have marketing, you have SDRs, you have account executives, you have onboarding team, customer success, and account executives. And why RevOps actually has to look through the entire funnel? It's because all of those teams influences the revenue at the end, right? It's not just about marketing or about sales. It's also customer success that brings a lot of revenue, and oftentimes it's overlooked, right? That you basically have much more value in existing business than you have in the new business. Probably SaaS businesses have it clear, but services businesses sometimes look for too many new business opportunities instead of expand with the current ones. So this is how it looks in practice. That in the past, there were those sales ops teams. So basically, sales operations was more popular in the past. Marketing operations was mostly about workflows, but there wasn't one function that actually overlooked over the all departments. Romeo, let me know if you have some thoughts and insights also for the audience at this stage.
Yeah, I think here is very important to really understand the GTM that you're doing, right? Because in some cases, like if you do let's say enterprise sales, you might not need that much effort when it comes to inbound marketing, but you might need more like brand marketing, right? Because um, your whole sales conversations and the actual value of closing deals will be in your subject matter experts, right? And in the understanding industries, understanding really well the use cases that your enterprise clients want. So your enterprise clients will not buy your tool or will not be excited that, oh wow, you are really number one in why to uh, outsource software development into Poland or Ukraine or Romania, whatever SEO content you might have, right? So this whole motions, and depending on um, what kind of team you have and what you sell, it will depend a lot. This bow tie depends a lot on that. So that's why the business model that you have is so critical to understand at the beginning, and to understand that audience before you even go and talk about these type of bow ties. Plus to that you add at what stage you are with your growth. So
Yeah.
mm,
That's excellent input, and actually, we will go into this in more details after we probably finish those definitions. So it would be good also actually to dive deeper. I think to go to market motions and understand a bit more how they lay the foundations for the RevOps. So actually, I will lean towards that now. And to continue just on the definitions, we also like the Rev Partners definitions and agency from United States as well that is really into RevOps. And we are also really clear and loud about that both them and us follow this winning by design model that actually Romeo also started to mention about how they define business model, go-to-market models, growth models for the company as a foundation for RevOps. So we'll soon go into this. Um, and just to continue on the definitions, right? RevOps, from their perspective, is the science of sustainable revenue growth. And what it actually looks to accomplish is first, how we can replicate and repeat revenue growth, how we can uncover those processes or how revenue teams can teach, measure, repeat, improve, explain the growth strategies to the full revenue cycle. So both marketing teams, sales teams, customer success teams. And then in the end, also identify tools and behaviors, how we collect, synthesize, and use data to drive actionable insights. And once again, just to go into a little bit of practice, how it looks. So first, uncovering the process, right? It's to understand how basically your entire customer lifecycle stage process looks like, from the acquiring a prospect to the first meeting, show up, sales account qualifying, sales process with different stages, and eventually customer onboarding. There's a different ways how we can basically map it out, but it's one of these examples how you basically uncover the process of how your company operates across the whole funnel. And you also can map out your tool tech stack and how you synthesize the data, how you use the tools across the whole customer journey from awareness to growing and expansions. I will not go into details, but you basically can see that there are a lot of tech stack that supports different teams and different use cases and how you collect data across it and unifies it. So what you can see that the sales, marketing, and success teams own how what gets done. So basically, they are executing the stuff, but RevOps own how it's done through collaborating with them. And to give you a practical example, again, this is, for example, the how it gets done while you hand off your deal from sales to customer success. There are certain stages. First, you have some technical kickoff, you have user trainings, first value achieved, certain goals that you have to achieve on each stage, actions you have to perform, enablement content you can use, and how you connect one stage to another. So in this example, you can see that RevOps basically shows how it should be done, but at the end, those are the teams that execute certain activities. To move on, this means that the RevOps lead must understand the entire process at a deep level. And there is a end. So there is more about it, but basically what I mean here is that it has to be a senior person that had in the past experience with marketing, sales, and customer success, and understands how it interconnects and how it should be handed off between the teams. And what is more, mix that knowledge with the disciplines of change management, data management, and technology or systems design, because at the end, you have to influence marketing, sales, and the customer success leaders. And it's really hard sometimes to change their mindset. And you, as a RevOps leader, have a completely different perspective because you look at the whole funnel. You're not looking at specific marketing and sales activities. And to also give you a little bit of a glance of maturity model for the RevOps, basically what you look at the beginning, it's to have the visibility over your business health over time. And then you want to align your teams, get actionable insights to ensure that they perform at their best. You can increase their velocity or decrease frictions. And at some point, you can also innovate, do some robust integrations, integrate third party apps, and make everything like achieve a competitive advantage versus other companies that other don't have because they didn't put so much effort into connecting all the data and teams together. And what's the issue is basically that you will at the end you will receive huge amounts of data and huge amounts of opportunities to improve your revenue across the all entire funnel, from marketing, sales to customer success. And this is one of the challenges, right, when you do RevOps, that basically you have too many priorities and too less resources. And RevOps people tend also to get burnt out really fast because they see so many opportunities, and at some point, everyone needs some support in marketing, sales, or customer success. So you have to be really clear about the priorities and the metrics that you want to improve. That have the highest impact for your business. And at Pant Digital, I mean, you can use simple outline of your projects and categorize them by priority, urgency, eventually the impact, and what kind of results you expect from these, and just plan them across the months, right? It can be maybe lead scoring, it can be implemented two-stage, some kind of a GTM process. So basically, you have to be really clear about what you want to improve. And in a second, we will tell actually how we do it, how to actually start doing RevOps, and how we can look at this from the practical perspective. And this is where we actually jump back into those go-to-market models, because this is the foundation. We will talk about business models and others, but yeah, GTM model is super crucial. So you started, Romeo, talking about it, right? That those different audiences require different engines. So maybe you can just once again reverse back on this.
Yeah, sorry, maybe my internet is not the best. Mm. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's working.
Okay, cool. So I think here is pretty much easy. Like depends on, we have three pillars with depending on what you sell, right? So on the left we have the so-called professionals, like freelancers, people who can decide on their own if they want a tool or not. Let's say if we talk about the SaaS business, so that means that if you're selling to these type of audiences or these kind of personas, you might have a lot of deals per year, meaning a lot of transactions, and your annual contract value might be low, right? So if you're selling, I don't know, landing gear, which is, I don't know the right price, but let's say around $150 a month, I don't need to make a big, buying committee to decide if I can use a landing page creator. So that means that if I'm a landing gear, just go back a little bit. That means that what I need to do is I need to focus a lot on actually the product, the product marketing. So the product needs to be really really good, because if the product is good, then there is a great reputation of the organization, and I need to focus on those users. So community type of marketing. So these are the growth engines for you, like product marketing, community based, and reputation marketing. When we talk about SMB, that means that okay, you might have different higher annual contract values, but here is where you need to prove your expertise for that particular industry. So that means that you need to create more content for those industries, and you need more thought leadership and events, obviously, to support that. So this is our space, for example, in Man Digital. One of our growth engines are these type of events. Maybe you saw different type of content that is out there on the social that we create, and thought leadership, meaning that we are focusing on being thought leaders in RevOps. So this is one example. So if you are a company that focuses, let's say, on software development, you could be a thought leader in a particular niche, let's say fintech. Your events are around that, content is around that. So everything is focused around one particular niche or industry. When we talk about enterprise, it's more around experience-based relationship. That means that you had previous employees or you have previous um, let's say portfolio in a particular expertise. So it's very much related to people and to that subject matter experts, and into really knowing the enterprise and really knowing the problems of that particular enterprise. Not necessarily, obviously industry, but this is more advanced than just the industry. You need to dive deep into, okay, if you are working for DHL and you're in logistics, you really need to know what's the expertise of DHL, what is the problems of DHL, and who are those people that maybe worked with similar companies or worked at on similar processes to solve what you need. And also the brand, right? Like someone like DHL will hire, I don't know, McKinsey to do their marketing strategy, not Man Digital. So that's the brand that you need to have there, so that you sell to enterprise. So those are your growth engines. So this is very much in a nutshell. So again, it depends a lot on what you're selling and which stage you are in, obviously, and the annual contract value. So that doesn't mean that you cannot sell to a professional within a enterprise, right, with a smaller value, or maybe some enterprises have some spin-offs, so they have lower budgets, right? Like, and you can still, but that would be still under the category of SMB, because the buying journey and the buying committee is not that complex as in an enterprise. So yeah.
Awesome. So when we now understand that there are different audiences, we actually start to plan some kind of actions and strategies towards them, right? And there are plenty of different ways how you can attract and acquire those customers and retain them. You can do inbound, you can do some SDRs, you can do account-based marketing. You maybe have a really good customer service for them. You have account managers that take care of growth for them. But let's try to structure it a bit. So let's split it into a marketing, sales, and customer success activities. So from the sales perspective, we have those four, right? We have product-led growth, where basically we understand that the product is the engine for the whole growth, and you don't need even a sales representative. I can actually go next, right? So you have product-led growth. Then you have a one-stage sales process where you do inbound and you basically get the contact forms. You directly start talking to the company, and you put them into a sales process. As simple as that. And you might also have a two-stage sales process where you basically reach out first as an SDR. So you use some cold outbound emailing, cold calling and stuff. You set up a meeting, and then you hand it over to the account executive. This is why it's called two-stage. You might also have a field sales where you split your sales teams across regions, segments, or verticals, and they start to specialize. Or you might have also named accounts where basically a single rep has just a few companies behind them. So what we try to show here is that from these go-to-market motions and from these different audiences, you might also run different marketing, sales, and customer success processes. And usually, when you will see on the next slide, a different marketing, sales, or customer success process is best adjusted to a certain type of average annual contract value, so a size of the business. So Romeo, you can probably tell here a bit more what this infographic by Winning by Design is trying to show, that you basically can, and this is what we talked about at the beginning, that you can run multiple go-to-market strategies when it comes to marketing and sales and customer success. So I think you will be the best to explain the audience a bit what this infographic means.
Yeah, in short, is where to put your eggs at the end after the day. Majority of them, right? So where to make the investment. For example, if you see their ABM, right? Like you see the marketing is a, if you are between 50K to 150K, this is a model for SaaS businesses, yeah, for software as a service. If you might be in because if you might be in the service business, these amounts might be bigger, right? Look at it as margins, right? Like in SaaS, if annual contract value between 50K to 150, the margin will be much bigger than if you would do it for service business. So this needs to be adjusted a lot. The graphics of annual contract value, the amounts, take it with a bit of salt and look at it as a SaaS. Yeah. If you are in a service business, the numbers might be different. So that's one thing. Um, so if we focus on the on this where you see ABM, one to few effective, right? What we say here is that if you're a SaaS between 50 and 150, a good, uh, let's say, use case based on Winning by Design's research is to do a go to market on account based marketing. That doesn't mean necessarily that you might not do inbound too, and that inbound there would not be pushed. So it doesn't mean that you don't you now you don't want to focus at all on SEO. It just says that ABM is the main focus here, right? Based on their research and use cases that they have. Then we talk about sales. Okay, so if marketing is doing ABM, then what kind of sales I need? I need people who are on the fields. What do that means in nowadays? Is that people who go to events, people who actually meet in person with different clients, right? And they are the customer success. It's segment based. That means that you have customer success teams that support particular segments. So you have customer success who are really good in, let's say, fintech. If fintech is one of the industries, and if you have, let's say, agrotech, then those customer success teams are really good in agrotech. Why is this important? Is because they have the use cases and they are really good in that. If we move into enterprise, it's where you say, okay, customer service it's specialized on one account. That means in the example of DHL, this customer success team is dedicated to DHL. So this is the difference here. Like if it would be ABM, it would, or if it would be one to few, sorry, it would be more logistics segment. If it's the selective one to one, it's DHL. You see the difference? It's like much more deeper into that particular niche. And this is connected with the engines, yeah, with when you said expertise, people, right? And that's what's important for you. So this is in a nutshell. So you start with PLG, which is product led growth. Again, very connected to the growth engine that I told you before. Product needs to be good. Yeah. So you focus on the product. That doesn't mean that on the other you don't focus on the product, but it means that that's your main growth engine. You need to make the product good, so you make a community and you grow within the product, right? You don't need to have salespeople to sell you $100 tool, right? The community should sell it. The content and the inbound that you do around it, all the events, the product marketing that you do should sell that. I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much for the breakdown. And why we are saying about it, because those are the foundations for the whole discipline of RevOps, to understand how to replicate and sustainably repeat the growth for the company. So first, you actually need to understand how you, what are the growth leverages, growth engines, and go-to-market motions. So just to simplify it, for example, in Man Digital, we just do demand generation. So basically, we create content. We try to be a thought leader in a certain category, and we do one stage marketing sales currently. So we just acquire meaningful conversations through contact forms or directly people who want to talk to us after they've listened to the content and thought leadership we've produced. And we also try to launch probably in the future in this quarter the account-based marketing program, where we will target through ads and our content specific accounts that we target, and account-based sales. So we will reach out to those accounts as well to generate some conversations, and those people will run the entire funnel. So they will both reach out and drive the sales process. So it's not like you have to exactly follow the model that Winning by Design presents, but you have to be quite clear about what your marketing, sales, and customer success go-to-market motions are, because those are the foundations for revenue operations later, or any kind of an improvement that you want to make into your end result, which is financial result at the end of the year. And in this case, what we basically track is what are the pipeline sources from the revenue sources from each GTM. Here it's split it a little bit different for outbound ABM, demand generation, events, and field. But what you want to actually understand is where your revenue comes from and what are the processes for each of these go-to-market motions. And we will go really into an example how this looks like in practice. So don't feel threatened if you don't understand quite clear what actually those GTMs mean by now. So as we mentioned, right, the RevOps framework starts with the business model. So you need to understand if you are a SaaS business with low value tickets, and basically you focus on repeating customers, and you charge your customers on an MRR basis, or maybe you are a service enterprise business where you just sell one license at a time, and that's all you basically need to do. So sell the license, and then you need to search for a new customer. It changes how you operate a lot. And then those are the go-to-market motions. So how do you do sales? How do you marketing? How do you customer success, which we mentioned a minute ago. The growth model stage of your business, whether you are at the product market fit and basically you experiment a lot, and those go-to-market motions will change a lot every month, or maybe every quarter you will experiment with something different. Or maybe you are at a growth stage where you've proven a certain go-to-market motion, you have success in inbound, but you now want to try account-based marketing maybe. Or you are in a scale mode where you exactly know what are your sales go-to-market motions. You just need higher outputs and less frictions. And then the data model. So how do we actually measure these go-to-market motions across the funnel? Math model is basically telling about what's your most important growth levers and how you what's the equation. So for example, if we get a 20% higher retention rate, usually this is where we get the revenue, the most revenue comes from. So you understand what are the key metrics that influences your growth. You have some tech stack behind it that is basically here where the RevOps starts. And RevOps sits on top of all of these, providing processes, enablement to those teams, advisory, and building systems that supports all of the go-to-market motions, data models, math models, and are in line with the business model. If it's yet not 100% clear, let's go into some practice. So let's imagine now that you have this type of a business, right? You have your marketing, which does inbound, and you have inbound SDR. You have outbound when you have market development representative SDR that basically reaches out to a big amount of audiences, and you have a target account SDR that goes for certain named accounts. So in a Another way, you may say that from the sales perspective, you have one stage sales process, sales motion, which is the inbound. So I receive leads. You have a two-stage sales process, which is I'm reaching out as a market developer and representative to set up a meeting for my account executive. And I have a named accounts process. So my target account sales development representative that takes the entire process on his own. So he reaches out and he also closes the deals. And there is really, amazing infographic from Gartner. So basically here you have inbound, MD, and target account. And there is an amazing process from Gartner explaining how each of these go-to-market motions from the sales perspective are driven. I think, Romeo, there is some train, so probably people have some of this. If you could mute for a second, it would be great. Yeah, awesome. So you have a sales development representative, right? And separate roles, they have separate tasks. So target account SDR, they exclusively contact named accounts to generate demand and convert qualified meetings. Usually also account executives for target accounts should also drive sales. You have a market development representative that contacts a high volume of accounts, and they also generate demand and convert qualified meetings. And you have an inbound SDR that just gets those leads and qualifies them to generate revenue once again. There are different aspects of this, but let's go next. And they have different quotas. So all of these processes have different metrics. So how many qualified leads per month should each representative generate? As you can see, target accounts have less because a majority of those SDRs will have higher deal values and higher deal accounts. Market development representative have a bit more. And inbound obviously has the most because he doesn't need to spend that much time in reaching out. He just receives the leads so he can qualify more. When you go next, so you can also determine what kind of activities per month these representatives should do. And what you can see here is that target account SDR stay focused on the same accounts for 6 months, while the market development SDR refreshes. So it's a typical outbound, refreshes the list of the accounts every month and just reaches out to a different ones. And inbound basically takes one contact at a time because someone converts and they just contact them. And then you have a daily activities. So target account SDRs will execute less activity as a trade-off for customized messaging. So they have to put much more effort into customization because they go for higher deal values, bigger buying committees, and they have to put more effort. But at the end, the expectation for average contract value is higher. While SDRs basically will have higher volumes, but they will have less personalized activities. So this was a first example how RevOps supports and tells how those motions should be executed by the teams. So this is what I mentioned at the beginning, right? That the teams owns what gets done, but the RevOps owns how it gets done, and defines a clear guidelines into the process. So this is how RevOps defines the process for different go-to-market motions, sales go-to-market motions. And now let's say about the enablement. So once you have defined the process, you also will tell how we can support those teams in actually perform at their best. So we can create, for example, the playbook. This is the example of HubSpot where they created a playbook for the partners. This is how you sell HubSpot. Those are the good fit indicators for the companies. So these companies you should look for and qualify. These are the tips how you identify the right contacts and how do you engage with them. This is the prospecting cadence. So this is how you contact them, the sequence. They have specific reasons to talk and the sequence templates that you can use. And this is how you should run your sequence process towards these companies. You have the content that you can use to find them, to connect with them or to sell to them. And some pain points that you can also tackle during the outreach. And case studies you can use for different industries that will help you sell towards these businesses, right? So this is how we also enable those go-to-market motions through RevOps. and the systems. So you also provide them with the system and dashboards, metrics, or the sequences tooling, right? The dialers. So you basically give them systems and tools to perform and to be efficient. And you also give guidelines how to do this. You provide, for example, lead status, so they exactly know who is assigned to them, what are the leads they are currently working with, connected, what's their life cycle stage. So you bring clarity towards their process with those systems. And then also advisory. So you may say, okay, guys, while you will run your process, every week you should run the weekly sales meeting where you will tell about your executive summary. So are you hitting the quotas? What is the range of the outcome we can expect? Deal review, top of the funnel review, and we go through the leaderboards. So basically create some competition to compare each sales representatives. And this is how also RevOps gives advisory, for example, to sales teams, how to run those weekly meetings. And then we have some case studies. So how actually, when businesses come to us with revenue operations challenges, how do we tackle this? But before that, I think that was super practical. And Romeo, let me know also your thoughts on the RevOps place in those go-to-market motions.
Yeah, I think the biggest question is, um, and I'm sorry that I really sound like a broken radio, but the audience, right? The persona matters so much in this whole thing, because everything needs to be focused on that. So if we don't know what kind of enablement content to do for, and we really don't know well the audience, then all this can go through the cracks. So the biggest mistake we see, is the shortcut that people want to make, meaning that do enablement content generic for all their audiences and all their target groups, right? And I think this is the biggest issue, because with generic proposal, it's like writing an email. It's like writing dear all, right, instead of dear Pshemek and so on. And that's a very simple example. So having this can take you a year, right, to have this kind of content. So that's why it's really important to identify at which stage you are in your growth, what are your target groups, and what is that content that you need in the buying journey. Because maybe if you are not confident that you can close deals at the proposal level, yeah, maybe there's a content that you need to focus on at the proposal level, not at top of the funnel. So identifying also stages in the funnel and content for that makes sense.
Yeah, I think what you're also trying to say is that, especially for those product market fit companies, probably first is to start with those ICPs, buyer personas, understanding the whole buyer's journey, and then because those go-to-market motions and engines, it's not how we want to basically market to those people. It's understanding how they want to buy and how they want to be treated across the whole customer journey, and how does and which of the emotion is the best suited for that, and what kind of probably meat inside this motion we need when it comes to content, messaging, relevance. And then the process comes in when we have this clear. We understand our audiences, we understand how they want to buy, we understand what their fears and what their pains are. We have a good content that is relevant to them. Then the process and all the next stages comes in.
Exactly.
Uh, but yeah, once again, probably when you are at the growth or scale stage, you probably should have these, and then you might focus more on increasing the outputs or decreasing the frictions, because you already have these things, but you just need higher efficiency or higher outputs. So yeah, it's really important to assess what kind of growth stage you are at before you actually define your priorities.
Hmm.
Uh, let's see some kind of a use case that we have when it comes to how RevOps actually also supports businesses. So I will just get back. So case study, real life example. The challenge that company has, right? Uh, we need to acquire 30 new enterprise customers. Specifically, we need to build a repeatable acquisition account-based sales go-to-market motion. This is our goal. This is what they defined that they want to do. And they believe that this motion is the best for enterprise customers because they want to be much more relevant and personalized towards these accounts. Currently, they have inbound processes that works quite well for the SMBs, but the processes for teams are not clearly defined, and it means that the SDR leader cannot cannot grow quickly because onboarding takes a lot of time and there's low efficiency from those SDR. Even though it works, it's not efficient enough, and they cannot scale that. And then at the end, the business control and visibility on the entire funnel is not there. Like basically, marketing works separately. Those inbound teams work separately. So there is no clear understanding of the entire funnel, which results in unclear investors reporting, and they don't have real time management capabilities. And especially when you have investors, the data is probably super crucial to you to have the control and visibility. So how RevOps can help is first, we can take clearly what's the framework for the account-based marketing go-to-market motion implementation to acquire those 30 customers with clear processes, automations, and after successful proof of concept. So first we give some kind of experiment. We don't automate too much. We set up the frameworks, the enablement content, we advise, and as Romeo said at the beginning, we for sure have to have clear buyer personas, ideal customer profiles, and relevant content to set up the process. And this is where RevOps come in. And at the end, those will be sales representatives and the team that will execute it. But RevOps set up the foundations and make sure that it goes smooth because it overlooks at the entire process. When it comes to the inbound process, we identified that there needs to be much more enablement content. So the playbook that I showed you from HubSpot is one of the things that can increase the ramp up time of the SDRs a lot, and also it provides much easier onboarding for the SDR leader because he can give this kind of a material right away to a sales development representative, and he can start reaching out much faster to the customers.
Yeah, and
And last point, yeah,
here regarding the SDR, right? Like, and we did this mistake also a few times. You hire an SDR without giving them enablement content. Then this SDR cannot perform. Then you're angry. You fire the SDR or you change the SDR, and then you are again hiring, and the cost of hiring is quite high. The time till you hire, it's again quite high. So you're wasting 1 year in trying to change SDR, hire SDR, whatever do with SDRs. You put all the stress on the SDRs when you don't have freaking inbound enablement content that clearly gives the processes and the playbooks for those SDRs. This happens with
yeah,
80%, 90% of the companies I talk to. And if and this is the biggest issue. While you could focus first on, okay, let's figure it out. I understand why people don't want to focus on this because they believe that if they hire an SDR and talk to the clients, it's closer to sale, right? Like you are in front of money if you have this SDR, which is not true because that person doesn't know what they do, right? But yeah, this is something to be very, very careful on how to make the balance between enablement and uh, hiring the SDMs, right? So yeah,
correct. Correct. Yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, it's like hiring sales will not solve revenue issues. That's for sure. Mm.
yeah,
And the last point was the data model review and reporting implementation. So basically, how to start tracking the entire life cycle of a customer and understand. When you talk about HubSpot, it's a lot about life cycle stages and lead statuses that are automatically being triggered by certain actions. So we can understand how the funnel looks like, and it doesn't have any leaks, and you can trust this data. I think that this is it what we have, and we just have 8 minutes for some Q&A session. But to conclude, what I guys wanted to also convey together with Romeo on this meeting is that first, the RevOps is a really senior role if you want to do it well, because you ask for a lot when you ask for a person who understands marketing, sales, customer success, can dive deep into processes, enablement, advisory, systems design, data management, change management. It's a big ask. It's a really big ask. But if you want to increase your revenue or profitability by 5-10% and you earn 10 millions, you basically ask for a lot as well. So don't expect that a junior or 2 years experienced person will actually do it well and be able to talk to your leadership team and make sure that they will have the willingness to change and implement those things. So we believe that it should be a separate function that is next to marketing, sales, and customer success, doesn't sit behind it. So, for example, it's not like sales ops or marketing ops, but it's a separate function. So that's what we also try to convey. And when we showed it at the end, it can really give a lot of value, but it requires seniority and experience. That's my 5 cents at the end. Romeo, your 5 cents?
Focus, I think, on okay. Sorry, my internet
It works.
sometimes. Yeah. So I think focus on creating one GTM really well and have all the data points for that GTM, and with one kick-ass enablement content for that GTM, which means that you just try to touch the process of all the steps in RevOps, right? So maybe initially you will not be able to just go and do multiple GTMs, but if you are able to have a good CRM implementation and see the data points and have the data sets and enable your sales reps to use that CRM correctly. So that's one thing for one particular GTM, right? So if you do outbound, do that outbound really well in this RevOps, and then you create enablement content for that industry, for that GTM, for those sales reps that work on, in this example, outbound GTM. If it's inbound, it's something different. But the point is to do well one process. That's the whole idea.
Thank you. And we have some questions from Pavel. So, do you have any good examples of RevOps model used and its impact on increasing the company's revenue? So, the easiest examples are usually on conversion rates. So, when you have a lot of deals that are lost by your sales team, you may ask, okay, what is causing these results? And maybe they lack some kind of buyer enablement content, so they don't have enough materials so that buyers wants to buy. And this we see really oftentimes this kind of an issue. So we've been able to increase 10% of the conversion rate from the deals that are opportunities that are created to closed one. And if you multiply it by at least 30,000 euro average contract value, you can see the numbers. And usually it comes to the fact that we expect sales to be, and it comes also to SDRs and sales, as Romeo mentioned at the beginning, we expect sales to sell, and we are not giving them any kind of a templates, examples, really good case studies, ROI calculators, educational content, infographics. I mean, they don't have stuff that helps buyers to buy. For example, how the process will look like, how the onboarding is, what will be the example execution. So there are really a lot of materials you can provide your sales with to sell better. Even simple, oftentimes companies don't have ideal customer profile and buyer personas. So basically, sales have to uncover the insights within the customers every time and time again. So simple as that. And maybe other question for Romeo. Is the role of RevOps partly played in smaller teams by the head of sales or sales manager?
I think it should be, in my view, a separate role because ops it's different role than someone who actually drives sales. Because sales is a very mm, hands-on with clients, so you need to be with clients and you need to make sure that your effectiveness, you work a lot on sales conversation effectiveness, while you have some very strict requirements on what you want to report on, how do you want to track the team, and what are where you should focus on in terms of go to market. And the ops, it's the infrastructure that enables you to do that. So, and that's a very let's say um, structure methodological type of process. If you do, and it's pretty much hard to do both, to focus on improving sales effectiveness and getting customer insights, and in the same time focus on that methodological ops type of tasks. So you really need that ops person. If it's RevOps, it means that knows both marketing and sales. If it's sales ops, that's focusing mainly with the salesperson. So depends on which stage you are. If you don't have marketing, you know, and marketing is not some focus on your GTM, but sales is, then you need to have a sales ops. Let's put it this way, yeah. But in my view, it should be a totally different person. But the sponsor and the person who drives it in terms of OKRs needs to be the head of sales in this case,
Yeah.
right?
I can relate probably to the next question also. Isn't this role often mixed with the growth function? Like head of growth is actually doing RevOps. So how we see this, and there people say that uh, so chief revenue officer, and call it also head of growth, or call it sales manager or market head of marketing. It's like CEO, right? So we have a CRO, and then you have RevOps, which like a chief operating officer for the CEO. So as Romeo mentioned, right, you have head of growth or CRO that are responsible for the KPIs, but RevOps should be this chief operating officer that helps to run the processes and makes everything much more smooth. Um, while the chief revenue officer focuses more on tactics, on solutions, how to get the revenue and what to do to get the revenue. So actually, what to do to get this revenue, what kind of tactics, go-to-market motions to run, and RevOps supports how it gets done the most efficient way. So I don't be yeah, I think it's mixed, but it's wrong. It's those are two separate roles, same as
Mhm.
CEO and COO. Okay, guys. We are after 1 hour already. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Romy, also to doing it together. And
Sure.
cheers, guys. Have a nice weekend.
Take care. Bye bye.